So good evening to everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tara Cardoso and I work for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. It's an honor to be here tonight before you. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue welcomes you for the 22nd anniversary of our 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony here at Palm Beach State College, the Lake Worth campus, Duncan Theater. We are pleased to bring a new perspective to you this year, inviting the next generation of our public servants, today's youth, our future firefighters, paramedics, and leaders to honor this day with their sentiments and their participation. We are joined today with students from Palm Beach State Fire Academies and paramedic students, two local high school fire academies, Wellington High School and Palm Beach Lakes High School, our poet from the Dreyfus School of the Arts, and our Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Cadet Battalion. We ask these young men and women to be here with us today to honor this important, historic event, even though many of them were not alive during 9/11. It is the day that changed America forever, the day that changed the fire service forever. Let us not forget why we gather, to honor the victims and the heroes of 9/11 and to make sure that their memories and their sacrifice are never forgotten. But we also come together tonight in solidarity. It is a time for all emergency responders, all Americans, to stand tall, to stand proud, and to stand together. We begin this evening introducing the following people up to the podium. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Cadet Captain Kira Cardoso to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Additionally, one of our Palm Beach County Fire Rescue 911 dispatchers, Communicator 3, Stacy Body, will be singing the national anthem, followed by our Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Fire Department Chaplain, Bob Wallace, for the invocation. So without further ado, please stand for the presentation of colors by the multi-agency Honor Guard and Pipes and Drums.
Remembrance Ceremony Honor Guard and all uniform personnel, attend whoa! Carry colors. Pipe Major, by your command.
Firefighters of Palm Beach County, pipes and drums, America step. On the right. Quick, march.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order. Arms. Colors. Prepare to post. Post. Ready. Cut. Fight Major. By your command.
Scotland rolling. All right. Quick, mark.
Before we pray, please join me in a moment of silence to honor those lives that were taken from us on this day 22 years ago, September 11th, 2001. Heavenly Father, we come to you on this day of remembrance to honor and to remember the brothers and sisters, the moms and dads, sons and daughters who were taken from us due to evil and hatred. We will lift up those family members who are personally touched by this attack on the innocent. We pray for an extra portion of peace in their hearts and minds. Help them to remember the joy that was theirs, even if only for a few days, months, or years. Love has never killed anyone, but has given its own life for a friend. Love has never forced itself on anyone, but always allows others the freedom to choose. Love gives of itself without asking for anything except that you receive it. Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not jealous. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails. So today, we choose how we will remember this day. We choose to love because perfect love casts out fear. We choose to remember those whom we love instead of those who took them from us. And just as darkness flees from the light, hatred cannot exist in the presence of love. The Bible tells us that God is love. Because this nation was founded on the principles of freedom of speech and freedom of religion, we are a country of many faiths. Because of this freedom, as a Christian, I can pray this prayer in the name of my Lord, my God, my Savior, and my King. Amen.
Please be seated. So we have some very special guests today. Members of the Fire Department of New York are here with us today. We are truly honored by your presence. FDNY lost 343 firefighters, symbolized here by the helmet shields on the helmets in front of you, 343. NYPD also lost 37 police officers. We also honor all of the families that lost a loved one or a friend on 9/11 or in the aftermath due to the exposure to the toxic air environment at 9/11. All members, active and retired, of our United States Armed Forces, we salute you for your service to our country. You are the reason we are a free country, a free nation, and we must never take that for granted. We would like to thank all of our dignitaries for honoring with us today. I'd like to invite up our Palm Beach County Mayor, Greg Weiss, to the podium for the welcome remarks and the introductions. Mayor Greg Weiss is a retired business executive from California and has been serving on the Board of County Commissioners since 2018. Currently, Mayor Weiss sits on the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency, Governing Board, the Water Resources Task Force, and he chairs the Business Development Executive Board and the Career Source Palm Beach County Consortium. Good evening, Mayor.
Well, good evening, everybody. And I'd like, it is really my honor, first off, to recognize some of my colleagues that are here this evening. We have Commissioner Michael Barnett from District 3, Commissioner Marcy Woodward with her husband Michael from District 4, Commissioner Mac Bernard from District 7, County Administrator Virginia Baker, Assistant County Administrator and former Fire Chief Reginald Duran, Assistant County Administrator Todd Von Laren, Assistant County Administrator Patrick Rutter, former Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Fire Chief Michael Mackey, current Chief of the Seminole Tribe of Fire Rescue, President Jeff Newsom and Legislative Vice President DJ Manger from Professional Firefighters and Paramedics of Palm Beach County, Local 2928, George Heisel and Lance Berkowitz from our Fire Rescue Advisory Board. Please give them a warm welcome. A day that even 22 years later remains etched in our hearts. As the mayor of Palm Beach County, I stand before you to honor the memory of those who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001, and to acknowledge the courage of those who stepped forward to help. On that day, countless heroes, including our own first responders from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue agencies from around the county, and our law enforcement partners who assisted the impacted communities in the aftermath of this tragedy. They were driven by a deep sense of duty and the desire to protect others. Today, we salute their bravery and the sacrifices they and their families made and continue to make. As we recall the events of that tragic day, we also extend our heartfelt thoughts to the families who lost loved ones. We remember the individuals whose stories of love, courage, and sacrifice continue to inspire us. They remind us of the resilience and strength that bind us together as a community and as a nation. In the aftermath of 9/11, we witnessed an extraordinary unity where people from all walks of life came together to support one another. Today, let us channel that spirit of unity and compassion, fostering a community where we understand and respect each other's differences. Here in Palm Beach County, we believe in power of community. We understand that strength lies in our diversity and in our ability to stand together during challenging times. As we remember this day, let's also make a commitment to nurture a society that embraces understanding and inclusivity. As we gather here, let us make a pledge to carry forward the teachings from that day, a promise to build a future marked by empathy, unity, and resilience, a future where we work together to create a peaceful and harmonious society. Let us not forget the lessons of 9/11, and let us honor the memory of those who were lost by fostering a world filled with kindness and mutual respect. Thank you.
We begin tonight with a call to remembrance and a moment of silence. We invite up Palm Beach State College Fire Academy student James Nevad.
Let's go back to September 11th, 2001, for a sequence of events that started just before 9 a.m. on that fateful September morning. We ask you to listen to the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Dispatch outlining the minutes that followed 22 years ago, when the towers of the World Trade Centers would collapse, as Americans everywhere would hold their breath looking at the TV, watching in horror, first believing this just might be some freak accident, but then realizing America was under attack on its own soil. There were thousands of lives lost that day, and thousands more would lose their lives later after 9/11 due to medical complications. Today, we pause to remember those that we have lost.
Attention all stations and all personnel. At this time, the North Tower of the World Trade Center was struck by an airplane. An American Airlines aircraft crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City, instantly killing hundreds of people and trapping many more. This was the first in a devastating chain of events that all Americans will never forget. Then, 17 minutes later, a second plane crashes into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:37 hours, a third plane crashes into the western side of the Pentagon military headquarters, sparking a fire. After burning for nearly an hour, at 9:59 hours, the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapses in 10 seconds. At 10:03 hours, Flight 93 crashes near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It had been heading towards Washington, D.C. At 10:28 hours, the North Tower of the World Trade Center collapses. Every year on this day, we remember the 3,000 lives lost. We remember our first responders who were running in while others were running out, dying in the line of duty. 343 firefighters and 72 law enforcement officers. The events that transpired 21 years ago have forever changed our lives and have redefined how first responders operate. All personnel are now asked to observe 60 seconds in a moment of silence in honor of the sacrifices made. All personnel, please resume normal operations. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, dispatch, WPKN 584.
We remember the families and the friends who lost someone that day 22 years ago. And we thank all the people here to honor them and to honor America.
So this evening we have a wonderful brand new musical addition to our ceremony. It's an original song written and produced by vocalist Jerry Montañez, the husband of one of our Palm Beach County Fire Rescue employees, Myra Figueroa. Performing with him are guitarist Roger Roque and pianist Porter Sir. So we asked Jerry to perform with his beautiful voice, but he went above and beyond, writing and authoring a brand new song to memorialize this day in honor of all the heroes who died trying to save others on 9/11. So this evening, here is Remember Them.
Sometimes it's hard to see the light, to find the strength and will to fight. When heroes fall, it feels so dark, but in that pain still lies the spark. When the darkest memories flood our minds and our thoughts get clouded with fear, think of all the ones who stayed behind for a chance that we could be here. When someone pays the ultimate sacrifice, giving more than just thoughts and prayers, let all glory, stars and stripes fly high, show the world it'll always be there. 'Cause to know it's not in vain to carry on, in spite the pain, we'll move along till God says when. But through it all, remember them. So here we are, after the fall, bruised, black and blue, but still standing tall. Let's not forget how far we've come. Don't leave the heroes song unsung. When the darkest memories flood our minds and our thoughts get clouded with fear, think of all the ones who stayed behind for a chance that we could be here. When someone pays the ultimate sacrifice, giving more than just thoughts and prayers, let all glory, stars and stripes fly high, show the world it'll always be there. 'Cause I know it's not in vain to carry on, in spite the pain, we'll move along till God says when. But through it all, remember them, just carry on.
Phenomenal. For our keynote speech tonight, we invite up one of our own, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue firefighter paramedic, a lieutenant with a very personal story of how 9/11 touched him on that day, with his family, in life, regarding career choices, and in his heart with a mission to do more to serve. Lieutenant Greg Tabeek joins us tonight with, for him, how 9/11 changed everything.
I want to start by saying thank you to the team that put on this amazing memorial service and for everybody showing up today and watching at home. Growing up the son of a fireman, outside of my preschool graduation when I said I wanted to be a fireman when I grew up, I hadn't given it much thought. My dad, Jim Tabeek, had been a fireman for Delray Beach Fire Rescue just shy of 19 years back in 2001. My grandfather on my mom's side, a Fort Lauderdale firefighter, retired now. My dad's grandfather was a fireman for Brooklyn, New York, predating FDNY in Brooklyn in the late 1800s. You could say being a fireman was in my blood, but as a 15-year-old boy, it never seemed to pique my interest. I had dreams of going to school for sports medicine and getting a job with a professional sports team. That was all until one day it changed mine and my family's life forever. September 11th, 2001, I attended class during my sophomore year of high school, just like any other day. After walking into my second period class for Introduction to Radio, the conversations about a plane hitting the World Trade Center were happening amongst the other students and my teacher. I immediately told Mr. Farley that my aunt works in the towers. He sent me to the radio station so I could see the news for myself. By the time this happened, the second plane had already struck the second tower. Instantly, a pit started to form in my stomach. My aunt, Joanne Tabeek, was a senior vice president for Cantor and Fitzgerald. She was on the 103rd floor of the North Tower. She went into work that day like many others, expecting for it to be just like any other day, getting herself ready for work, getting my cousin Crystal, who was 11 at the time, ready for school, and kissing her goodbye just like she did every other day. After going to the radio station and witnessing the terrifying news coverage, I knew I wouldn't be able to concentrate the rest of the day. I went to the office to call my mom to pick me up. While in the office, the TV was showing the news coverage from New York. Suddenly, everyone in the office started to scream as they watched the first tower come billowing down into a giant cloud of smoke. An emptiness fell upon me. It was like I knew in that moment that she was gone. All I could do was fall to my knees and begin to cry. The rest of that day was spent at my grandparents' house, watching the news coverage and hoping that the phone would ring with answers. For the days and weeks to follow, I remember watching FDNY crews, as well as urban search and rescue teams, work tirelessly in hopes of finding a void space with victims still alive, or at the very least, a body to provide closure to families. FEMA had deployed 23 of the 28 urban search and rescue teams to the 9/11 attacks to assist in these rescue and recovery efforts. For my family, that closure came 2 weeks later on September 25th. When in New York for the funeral, our family was notified that her body had been recovered. They told us based on the location she was found, they believed that she had made it out of the building when it collapsed. As disturbing and frustrating as this information was, this closure was more important to us than most of us realized. This was a hard time for all of us, especially watching my 11-year-old cousin, Crystal, who would never be able to see, touch, or talk to her mother again, was absolutely devastating. This was just one story of loss from that day. Almost 3,000 lives were taken, 343 of those being our FDNY brothers that rushed into the buildings to try to save lives. As dark and terrible as that day was, the country united. The feeling of what it meant to be American was palpable. Rudy Giuliani said, "The attacks of September 11th were intended to break our spirit. Instead, we have emerged stronger and more unified. We feel renewed devotion to the principles of political, economic, and religious freedom, the rule of law, and respect for human life. We are more determined than ever to live our lives in freedom." This unity was one of the positives that came from that dreadful day. For my family, that positive came in the form of myself wanting to become a fireman. I immediately made the decision to join the Fire Explorer program in Delray, using high school on-the-job training classes to do ride times and get high school credits for training. After graduating high school, I attended classes to work on my AA and emergency medical services and went to the Fire Academy. I got hired by Delray Beach Fire Rescue in March of 2007. Being a fireman, though, was only part of my aspirations. I immediately joined their special ops team and started working on training classes for urban search and rescue teams. In 2010, I was able to take advantage of an opportunity to deploy to Haiti with a small team to assist after the earthquake. This was my first real-life experience in the world of urban search and rescue. Our small team, flying over on chartered jets paid for by a philanthropist, was able to rescue 3 people out of the collapsed buildings in Port-au-Prince. This experience solidified my ambitions once again to be on a FEMA USAR team. Finishing my USAR courses, my instructors became my mentors, most of which were on Florida Task Force 2 and had deployed to the World Trade Center. I had the opportunity to learn from guys like Chief Nugent, Chief Accardi, Captain Bartlett, Driver Operator Dorset, and the late Chief Anderson, and just too many more to name. As I finished my classes, Task Force 2 had opened up applications. I submitted my paperwork and waited for the call. During this time frame, I made the decision to join Palm Beach County Fire Rescue and got hired October of 2014. The timing worked out perfect. I was able to complete the mandatory training on the weekends while attending the Recruit Academy for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. In 2015, I got the official call that I was rostered as a rescue specialist for Florida Task Force 2 and also as a hazmat specialist. This career has given me so many incredible opportunities, and I'm only halfway through it. I've had the honor to work for L2 Defense, helping train the United States Army in hazmat and USAR operations to support the Homeland Response Mission, traveling to Army bases all over the country and even to South Korea. I'm a USAR instructor for Coral Springs Fire Academy, as well as here at Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, as well as a member of the Department of Homeland Security's First Responder Group, which I discovered while working on my bachelor's degree in Homeland Security. The last 2 years, I've been privileged to serve as the department's first TRT coordinator. And for the last 4 years, I've competed as the ensign commander for the Punishers Extrication Team, having the opportunity to represent not only Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, but the United States of America in world competitions in France, Luxembourg, and next month in Spain. Being on Florida Task Force 2, I've been fortunate enough to serve our state and country through multiple deployments, most significantly to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico in 2017 and the Surfside building collapse in 2021. Although I went towards the second half of the deployment to Surfside, it brought full circle the reason in which I wanted to join not only the fire rescue family, but the urban search and rescue family as well. All 8 state USAR teams deployed to the Champlain Towers collapse, along with 5 additional FEMA USAR teams. Although there were no survivors when these teams arrived, 100% of all missing victims were accounted for in the recovery efforts, providing closure to all 98 families, just as the teams provided closure to my family almost 20 years before. Currently, I have the honor and opportunity to lead a team that is building an urban search and rescue capabilities for Palm Beach County, providing for the citizens and visitors a team of highly trained and equipped rescue specialists for when a disaster strikes home. This team and the abundance of equipment will be able to handle building collapse, large area search after hurricanes, flood water response, and much more. The opportunities this career has given me is not even the greatest meaning to me becoming a firefighter. It's been the ability to provide support to my 2 boys, Caden and Jackson, who could teach classes about 9/11 based on discussions we've had. Just this week, we talked about how Crystal was in between their ages when she lost her mom, and if they could imagine what life would be like if that happened to them. To many Americans, we have always said we will never forget. President Barack Obama once stated, "Even the smallest act of service, the simplest act of kindness is a way to honor those we lost, a way to reclaim that spirit of unity that followed 9/11. I live this daily, believing that actions speak louder than words. That said, the tattoo on my forearm is the same image as the towers behind me, to remind people with a visible image every time they see it. I ensure to always live out the legacy of those before me, as well as for the 343 firemen that lost their lives, the numerous USAR members that have since passed of 9/11 related medical conditions, as well as those still struggling to survive them. And of course, lastly, for my cousin Crystal, who lost her mother at the age of 11. To know that was some good that came out of that terrible day, the day that she lost her mother and my aunt, Joanne Speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. So one of the most beautiful things about our youth today is the amount of talent and creativity. We have another original work of art tonight that we're so excited about. Carmia Smith, a student from Dreyfus School of the Arts, is a poet. She's here to share her perspective on 9/11, not by living through it, but by learning about it as a part of history. Carmia chose a photograph taken on 9/11 to create this poem called Through the Eyes. She is here to perform it for us tonight.
All there was snow, the gray flakes falling out of the burnt sky, littering the ground below. Buildings made snow angels out of its remnants. People made snowmans as it covered their body. Business suits burned, heels hit the hot New York pavement as people ran, carrying nothing but their bodies. The weatherman never could have predicted this. People panicking, searching for the things that they never could have prepared. Helmets to protect themselves from the debris falling out of the skies, coats to protect themselves from the burns, and earmuffs to protect them from the screams of agony and death. When I was little, and the droplets from clouds used to constantly taunt me, when rain, rain, go away, come again another day didn't work, I would get so angry at the sky. My head turned up as I shouted and pleaded for it to stop. For the clouds to disperse, I bargained for the sun to come out and scare the rain away. So every night, my parents would read me a book about a little boy who lived on a little plain with hundreds of the most beautiful animals and miles of the most beautiful plants. And everything was good on Capity Plain until the rain stopped, and the beautiful plants began to wither away, the animals scattered and hungry, pointed ribs showing through ragged fur, and the thing that I so desperately hated was gone. And with it, it took everything. Until the little boy took a bow and eagle feather to pierce the clouds, and the rain came. And the rain was good. And instead of lifting my chin up at the sky to yell at it, I wanted to dance in it, to open my mouth and stretch out my tongue to collect the dewdrops. In room 301, at Emma E. Booker Elementary School, a classroom of second graders sat on chairs with their Sunday best, freshly pressed white uniforms, neatly done hair, and a smile of complete and utter glee because the President of the United States was in their class and reading them a book. And as they sat, their parents stood at home or at office desks, eyes glued to screens, faces full of complete and utter numbness or horror at the news played out in front of them. Towers crumble to the ground as ash covers the sky, and all you can hear are the sirens and screams of the people watching, of the people inside. Airplanes are dropping like flies, and in them are people that just wanted to get back home. Bodies fall, never to be picked back up. There is chaos and destruction everywhere in New York City. In New Jersey, there is a girl waiting for her father to come back home, to kiss her on her forehead and ask her how her day was. There's a mother with weights on her tongue as she tries to figure out a way to tell her little girl that she will never feel the arms of her dad enveloping her in a bear hug ever again, will never feel his breath on her cheek as he kisses her goodnight in the New York Trade Center. There is a new mom watching from above as her clothes and body and skin catch on flames as though they were already drenched in gasoline. And as she calls out her baby's name, her world turns dark. And on that day, there was no little boy with an eagle feather to pierce the clouds. There was no rain, only outpours of fire. And in room 301, in Sarasota, Florida, 16 children watched as the president's soul left his body, watched as September 11, 2001 turned into 9/11, the walls of the trade centers collapsing in on him, and watched as he continued his reading and posed for pictures. They didn't know in that moment that the world was falling around them. They were just proud of themselves for reading their book perfectly. And in New York City, all you could see was gray. Body ashes lined the door of every house, covered the surface of every building, burned a hole in every heart. The people spent months picking up the rubble of their city, and all you could smell was the smoke. And as families scurried over the broken glass and ruined buildings, searching for familiar eyes, praying that one day they would find their way home, Some families are still searching. It has been 22 years and people are still looking and finding nothing but ash under the rubble. They stand on memorials looking at names that were once attached to friends and families and co-workers, and in room 301, there's a group of children at Emma E. Booker Elementary School in Sarasota, Florida, that loves to read. Thank you.
So September 11th was a day that changed America forever. But what it did not do, what it could not do, it did not break our spirit. It is now time for a very special musical tribute honoring our freedom. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Fire Safety Specialist Charbel Cadiz joins us to perform There She Stands on the stage.
When the night seems to stay, all hope is lost, gone away. But I know I'm not alone. By the light, she stands. There she waves, faithful friend, shimmering stars, westward wind, show the way, carry me to the place she stands. Just when you think it might be over, just when you think the fight is gone, someone will risk his life to raise her. There she stands. There she flies, clear blue skies, reminds us with red for those that died, and washed in white by the brave in this strength she stands. When evil calls itself a martyr, when all your hopes come crashing down, someone will pull her from the rubble. There she stands. Oh, we've seen her flying, torn and tattered. We've seen it stand the test of time. And through it all, the fools have fallen.
For first responders and public servants everywhere, traditions are very, very important. Tradition and history are ingrained in the very fabric of the fire service. For police and law enforcement officers, the timeless ceremonial tradition is known as the three-round volley. For the three-round volley explanation and the history behind it, please join me on stage, Wellington High School Fire Academy student Vincent DiMaria and Palm Beach Lakes High School Fire Academy student Leslie Vasquez. So for firefighters, there is another time-honored tradition shared all over the nation known as the tolling of the bell. For the tolling of the bell, please welcome Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Honor Guard Commander Steen Erickson. And with the commander ringing the bell tonight is Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Honor Guard member Erica Petit. Explaining the tradition and the history behind the iconic bell, we invite Palm Beach Lakes High School Fire Academy student Willie Shelton. Taps is yet another tradition that is honored all around the country to signify the fallen. It began as a military tradition. For the history behind taps, please welcome Palm Beach State College paramedic student Jasmine Lorente. And playing taps on the bugle, we are joined by Honor Guard member George Cardoso. Amazing Grace will be played by our Palm Beach County Fire Rescue pipes and drums after the series of the three traditions. But first, as we promised, let's explain the history behind all of this.
The tradition of the three-round volley gun salute began in the 14th century as firearms and cannons came into use in battle. Since the early rifles or cannons contained only one projectile, discharging only one time, they rendered ineffective until the weapon could be reloaded. The tradition of the three-round volley dates to the European dynastic wars in the 16 and 1700s. During a war, a ceasefire would be called to allow each side to remove the dead and injured from the battlefield. After the dead and injured had been retrieved and properly cared for, each side in the war would fire 3 volleys.
Today, this tradition continues to honor fallen service personnel and first responders at funerals. The 3 individual volleys fired from the rifle represent 3 separate things: 1 bullet for duty, 1 bullet for honor, and the last bullet for country. A video will follow in a moment to show you the 3-round volley performed by Palm Beach Gardens Police Department, Jupiter Police Department, and the Palm Beach County Sheriff Office in front of the 911 memorial.
Long before the internet was invented or radios or smartphones were used across our great nation, fire departments used the telegraph to communicate. The telegraph used special codes to receive fire alarms from those once familiar red fire alarm boxes. When a firefighter was killed in the line of duty, the fire alarm office would tap out a special signal. This would be tapped out as 5 measured dashes, then pause, and then more dashes. This was broadcast over all circuits and was heard outside on the streets, and came to be known as the tolling of the bell. The tolling of the bell was done as a sign of honor and respect for all firefighters who had made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their communities. Such symbolism has made a time-honored fire service tradition. It is repeated at each service of a fallen firefighter. A bell is used today just as the bell was the alarm to signal firefighters to respond to a call. After the call, the bell was rang again to signify the alarm had ended.
Taps, or the National Song of Remembrance, is the distinctive bugle melody known across the country as the music of mourning. However, it didn't start out this way. Taps has its roots in the American Civil War. The tune was written and first used during the war in 1862 to signal to the soldiers that it was time for lights out at the end of the day, that it was time to go to sleep. Within 9 months, it was adopted by both the Union and the Confederate forces. During the war, it was also decided that sounding the traditional 3-round volley over a gravesite would cause problems if the enemy heard the gunfire. the enemy might think it was time to start fighting again. So the bugler was told to play taps instead. In the 1890s, taps then became a standard component of military funerals, added to the 3-round volley. They are both a way to say final farewell to those who have served their country and their community. Here are all 3 traditions together in sequence, followed by the pipes and drums with amazing grace.
Honor guard, up 10, 2. Forward, up. Honor guard, prepare for the 3-round volley. Half right, face. A. Fire. Ready. A. Fire. Ready. A. Fire.
Thank you. For our closing remarks tonight, we'd like to invite up our Fire Chief, Fire Rescue Administrator Patrick Kennedy.
Good evening. Indeed, it is an honor to be up here. As my wife and my family were watching last night a segment on national news, and we were watching the story that we had seen so many times before. It was just a moment where we were just silent, all of us. 2 children, one 15, one 18, that wants to be in the fire service. My wife and I, we were just silent, watching the same story that we had seen before, and it just seemed to have a little bit more gravity and a little bit more weight for some reason last night. Thank you to Palm Beach State College for graciously opening your doors and making this ceremony a possibility once again. And Matt Keeler, I know you're out there. Thank you very much. Thank you to our County Administrator, Ms. Baker. I can't see you right now. The light is blinding, but thank you, Mayor Weiss, and your speech tonight for that. Our Board of County Commissioners, all of you, and those of you that are here tonight to ensure that Palm Beach County Fire Rescue delivers the very best to our community. Thank you. The next one is a combined applause, which may be a little bit weird, but we do need to work together to continue to move forward. Thank you to my boss, Reginald Dern, former fire chief, and Local 2928 president, and the other officers that are here tonight. Together, we will lead the fire service by breaking boundaries in service delivery. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tara. According to the program, you have now made this a family affair. We thank you for your dedication and commitment, and also the free labor. Thank you very much. To our Pipes and Drums members and Honor Guard members, many of them, and including some members of our video team, are heading out to Colorado. They've already had 2 funerals last week, and then tonight's ceremony, and then also heading out to Colorado to honor our fallen members with Local 2928. So thank you for your continued dedication. Yes, we can clap, and we'll clap again. And all the other members who work tirelessly to honor the traditions of the fire service, thank you for representing the very best in the fire service in times of celebration and grief. Thank you so much. When we consider these 4 simple words, we will never forget. They ignite a complexity of emotions that are not easily reconciled or dismissed, nor should they be. We represents the unity and bond of our nation, humanity, our first responders, and our brothers and sisters in service. The bond that is forged in those emotions creates togetherness and unity. Will, in this case, represents a firm desire or determination. Never means not under any condition. And forget can be defined as ceasing to consider. Together with the firm desire and determination in all circumstances, we cannot cease to consider the sacrifices made that day, nor forget the grief, sorrow, and loss our nation experienced. 9/11 was not a tragedy, but also a story of courage, hope, and remembrance as we witness tonight. Some of us witnessed those courageous efforts firsthand as we watched on television that day. We witnessed the increased importance placed on our national security and the immediate reverence bestowed on those who risked their lives to save others, which has now been transferred to the next generation of first responders because of the acts of courage that day. The terrorists could not consider the resolve of our nation to bond together and turn towards those acts of hope. They could not fathom the reach of the next generation to instill hope and inspire others through history and hearing of stories of that day. The terrorists see our country's resolve, albeit clouded and difficult to see amidst the circumstances that changed the world as we saw it. What we did and what we have tonight is witnessed hope. Same as others experienced when they spoke to dispatchers that day, who calmly in contact with trapped callers after the planes collided, trying to calm their fears and let them know that responders were coming. Today, as we remember, 22 years later, the musical performances of tonight, the poems, the words spoken from our youth and emerging leaders are a living witness and testimony to those words we will never forget. Lieutenant Tabik, along with others who have taken the past to form a pathway for the future in our department for the state of readiness and for our county. That is one more example of how that day changed with hope. Thank you all for reminding us when despair or sadness is overwhelming, there is also courage and hope. Thank you for your bravery to be up here tonight. You have shown that we have the power to affect others who may have forgotten the sacrifices made that day and the following days. Today, we thank everyone for joining us to reflect on the past. Now, we look to the future as we remember 9/11 was not just a tragedy, but also a story of courage, hope, and remembrance. Thank you.
All right, everyone, please stand for the retirement of the colors and the conclusion of the ceremony.
Honor Guard and all uniformed personnel, attend, carry arms. Flight Major, by your command.
Green Hills, battle's on. Direct. Quick, look.
everyone have a good evening. Thank you for joining us.